Hi everyone, on today's video I'm gonna be talking about one of my favorite cameras, the Canon A-1, and why I think it's probably one of the best 80s camera, although it was introduced in 1978. Let's check this out. When this camera came out in 1978, it was not the top of the line from Canon. This roll was fitted by the Canon F1. So if you want to compare it to modern day cameras, let's say the Canon F1 was the 1DX series, making this a 5D equivalent into the film camera era. 1978, so this camera is over 40 years old today. So why is it so interesting? Well, it's a futuristic camera, but let's talk about the looks. Have you seen that? It looks awesome. I mean, it looks futuristic and complete, and lots of buttons, making it easy to use because one button is one function, just like the D700 I was talking in the previous video. But that's not the only interesting features about it. First of all, you find this eyepiece shutter on the back. It helps you if you want to take long time exposures not to have parasitic light coming in the viewfinder. There's also this button here, which is the battery check button, so you press it and you will find out that the battery is good if the red LED is flashing rapidly. Around the battery check button you will find this on and off switch for the LEDs inside the viewfinders. Yes, LED numbers. Let's have a look inside the viewfinder, shall we? This camera has something very futuristic for 1978. Red numbers made with LEDs. And it reminds you of ancient alarm clocks, but remember, in 1978 this was considered to be futuristic. Another very cool feature is the double exposure switch just besides the winding lever, and the fact this camera has multiple exposure modes. You have program mode, so the camera does every setting you ask it to do. You have aperture value for aperture priority, or shutter speed priority, TV for time value. That's how Canon called shutter speed priority. The viewfinder is bright and clear, better than most cameras from the competition. I'm not gonna call names, but if you look inside the viewfinder of a Canon A-1, you will find out what I'm talking about. It's bright, clear, it's easy to use. Really, I love this viewfinder. Although the coverage is not 100%, but it's close. This camera uses FD lens mount, and well, for a long time they were a bargain because nobody was using FD lenses because they were not compatible with modern day AF cameras or digital. But since the advent of mirrorless camera, people have found out that FD lenses are pretty good. So they are a little bit more expensive nowadays, but there's still plenty of them available, and for a very decent price. On the side of the lens you will find these two buttons. One of them is for backlighting compensation, so it literally overexposes the shot if you are in backlighting situation, and the other one is for exposure memory. But I never remember which one is which, so let's check the user manual.
FYI, the top button is actually the exposure memory, and the bottom one just turns on the light meter, so no backlight compensation button here. My bad.
And below these two buttons you have the depth of field preview switch, which is pretty useful if you are shooting in manual mode. Talking about manual mode, it's time to mention one of the drawbacks of this camera, because nothing is perfect. The manual mode is pretty tricky to use, and this is the way you use it. You simply switch the lens to a setting other than A, and you are in manual mode. The viewfinder is going to tell you which shutter speed you're using, but the aperture you should be using. And there's no way to know if it's okay under or overexposed. No plus or minus inside the viewfinder. So you literally have to look inside the viewfinder. Oh, okay, I need to use this aperture. Set your aperture and then take the shot. It's losing time, honestly. So I prefer to use it in shutter speed priority mode, just like a Canon A-1. Another drawback is the flash sync speed, 1/60. so you can forget about using it for fill flash in bright sunlight conditions. Plus, there is no TTL flash with this camera, but only a few cameras in 1978 had it, so it's not that big of a deal, but well, on some points this camera feels ancient. Futuristic and ancient at the same time. I need to mention that this camera uses the PX28 battery, so you don't have to bother with mercury batteries or adapters. Just whack in a battery you'll find in many shops today, and you're gonna be good to go. Reliability was not really an issue on this camera. Obviously, you will find some that are not working today because they are 40 plus years old cameras and electronic cameras, but most of them are still fine. I mean, it's a reliable camera, so I wouldn't worry about reliability issues if I was about to get one. I do not own one A1. I own two of them. These have been one of my favorite cameras over the years because of the way they look, the way they perform, and the fact that FD lenses, well, as you can see in this video, there's nothing to complain about the quality. So, should you get a Canon A1 today in 2021? If you are able to find one that is not too expensive and in a good condition, well, go for it. And it was meant to appeal to amateurs and professionals alike. So all the features and ease of use. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.